Live. I got ton of vision. You can remove wax, but why would you do that if folks don't want to listen? I could accrue ash and cry from 2 sacks and preach with profit vision. Eyes wouldn't get too bad. I'm serving up true facts, but these folks swallow fiction. Yeah. So
hello, AR.
Hold on one sec here.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. Why
No
is
worries.
this? I can't get this to mute. All right. I'm sorry. I finally got it to mute.
Oh, you don't have to be sorry. It's not like that serious.
Like I told you, it's like this is a whole new learning experience for me, but we are getting it. So how are you? How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't even know if anything new was dropped today in the Idaho 4 because whoops. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
Well, why don't we find out?
Okay. Here we go. Sorry. I don't even know if anything new happened because there's so much going on in the other case I'm following that I start following that. And then I'm like, oh my God, I missed all this. And then I come over here and it's just back and forth. So any news today?
So as of yesterday, there's nothing today, but yesterday you got the response from the prosecution regards to 7th motion to compel for the defense. Of course, that's sealed, so we're not going to hear anything about that, of course. But really, the one thing that I kind of seen everybody just jumping up and down about, and I don't know if you and I have spoken about it before, but I've relayed this to everybody. It's not that big of a deal. Brian Koberger's family is going to testify at the trial. Everybody's making it seem as though here we go. It's the big thing that, Brian's family had to have told on him.
I know. Why does this keep popping up? Because I heard this in the very beginning, and then I hear people saying that they don't support him, but they obviously didn't read the press release that they put out in the very beginning where it said they, support him. And it was a very nice press release, and they haven't felt the need to say anything else, which I understand, right?
I agree with that. I mean, it's better for them to stay behind the scenes. I would recommend that to any family member of somebody that's a defendant in a case. Even in my own cases, I was very happy that the people that knew me stayed behind this. Like, stay out of it. Stay away from it. Don't get yourself involved in the local.
You put yourself in jeopardy when you do that,
You do. And then come on, we're all watching it. You get all the, the untruths being spoken, all the conspiracies and all just the non-common sense comments. I mean, it's just better to stay out of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's obvious they're going to have to testify. The father rode home 2,500 miles across the country with Brian Koberger, who is the arrested defendant of a quadruple homicide case. He's going to have to testify. They were arrested in the home. Brian Koberger.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, common sense tells you that, they can't just say things without, what do they call it? Laying a foundation, right? And
That's
so his parents have to lay that foundation in terms of what his behavior was like leading up to the arrest or whatever it is that they want to bring in.
Absolutely. Plus, I mean, we all have been privy now to the Amazon clicks and the Amazon.
Oh my God, I can't stand the misinformation on that. I can't deal with it.
But I mean, they're going to have to testify to that as well, because even if it is a family account, they have to come in and they have to verify what they know about it. And it's not that big of a deal, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's not that my whole argument is, from what I've gathered, listening to, it may have been you and Swamp Rose, or I honestly think that's who it was. But regardless, they haven't, in terms of the purchase, there was an initial purchase in March when he still lived in Pennsylvania. And then, and somehow they narrowed it to that 1 week when he purchased it, like bullshit. Obviously you picked it out and then changed your warrant. But then the other thing was, it doesn't even say he purchased it after the murders. It says it showed up in his it was kind of like, here, when you're buying something on Amazon, they show you 50 different things that you're like, fuck, I didn't need this, but now I want to look at it. So they're suggesting that because Amazon suggested for him to buy this after the murder, that somehow like that implicates that he was purchasing it after. It's fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I can't.
It is, and you know what's funny is my wife is a an Amazon shopper. She just loves Amazon.
Yeah.
I personally don't shop Amazon at all. However, the accounts are in my name under my email,
Mhm.
and you know my cards are tied to that.
Right.
So even whether I shop there or don't, it really doesn't matter. I'm
Mm.
tied to that account. So it's funny when I do open up our computer and I start looking around, and I sometimes want to see what she possibly has ordered, or you know what's and it's like
Making sure she's not purchasing any, like, I don't know, like arsenic or
well, you know,
concoctions.
yeah, I sure hope we're not finding any K bars or anything in there that could potentially be used towards me. But you know, the pop-ups pop up in front of me too. So if anybody wanted to do an investigation in regards to my purchase history on Amazon, it's going to reflect what anybody on that account has looked at. So I mean,
And you can make anything look nefarious, right? I mean, these
yeah.
people will make anything look nefarious, which is why they shouldn't have this broad sweeping warrant and get just see like what you and your whole family purchased the last year. I could do a pretty good personality profile on someone based on that, but that doesn't mean I should have access to it.
Well, and I agree. And the funny thing is, you know, people would think I'm a cross dresser if they really want to look at the shopping history on my Amazon with all the women's, you know,
Mhm.
dressing. I must be wearing bras and panties
Mhm.
nowadays because I'm.
Right, and that's the problem because all of these things are taken completely out of context, and who cares if he number 1, who cares if he bought a K-bar knife? That not I literally don't give a fuck, it means nothing. A lot of people buy I'd like to know how many people, in that area bought K-bar knives. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, and the fact that he was suggested to buy one by Amazon, so that's like some minority report bullshit right there. When you start, saying, well, Amazon said he should buy it, that means he used it. I mean, really? Is that where we're at?
Well, and I'm still, you know, I want to see at trial these experts take the stand and actually clearly state in their testimony that a K-bar knife was the only weapon utilized in this actual crime. Because if they can't get up there and truly prove it's a K-bar, then none of that even matters. It doesn't matter if he bought a K-bar knife. It doesn't matter all that. You
That's
know, and
such a good that's such a good point because there's a sheet they found. They have not found the murder weapon. We're all, that's what they want us to believe, or whoever put the sheet there wants us to believe that it's, for the knife that was used. But we still haven't, as far as I know, have they released any evidence to show what the wounds? I thought they sounded like they were different, right?
from
What
what
do you
I understand, and from a lot of the conversations that I've been privileged to have with many people that you know really keep up with this and really investigate this, it does sound as though the initial reports were multiple different types of wounds caused to these victims, which would lead me to believe this is not a one weapon crime. And even if I mean, you still have to prove I'm sorry, a sheath has never taken someone's life. From what I understand, I've never
Right,
heard of a sheath actually being the weapon utilized in a quadruple homicide.
right.
So I get the fact they found a sheath, but damn, you're gonna have to prove to me that something came in that sheath and was used because it just feels really sketchy that you find this sheath. I I don't know. That's
No,
just sketchy.
I totally agree. And then, to just further clarify that point, I get like kind of uh like crazy with the whole DNA thing because there's so many parts to it. But the very first thing that just pisses me off about the DNA is I've done some research into it, as I'm sure others have. The touch DNA was never meant to identify, like, be the way to identify, like, if that's all they had, they wouldn't be able to arrest someone with that. They know that. That's why they put it in the warrant in Washington, whatever. But literally they've done, the person who started using it called it DNA fingerprint, they called it, or fingerprint DNA. And he did a study and he showed where, it travels, it can be traveled to places you've never even been because we rub off on each other. And so I understand it's on a snap. I get that part. I understand that makes it very incriminating. However, it's hard for me to let go that touch DNA, in some states, they don't even let you consider. The judge instructs them to not give it any more weight than any other piece of circumstantial evidence. And that's the way it should be dealt with, because it's not like regular DNA, right?
No, it's not at all considered to be a normal type of DNA that you would want to utilize in a case like this. I mean, you want blood, you want saliva, you want something really kind of substantial compared to, and I was kind of goofing around the other day and I watched a larger content creator that, they definitely believe Brian Kober is guilty, but this is one that, I believe they're a lawyer or something of that nature. They put on this show and they're talking about how Bill Thompson and the prosecution claims that they have a substantial amount of evidence. Don't just think that this little evidence is all they have.
Is this an older lawyer, an older white guy?
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. And he says that he was a defense attorney, but he acts like he's a prosecutor. I'm sorry.
Right. Yep.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
And the thing that frustrates me about that is, come on. I mean, legitimately, if there was more DNA evidence that tied back to the individual, Brian Kober, that you have in custody, that's sitting in jail, trust me, they would not be battling over the IgG on a knife sheath underneath the button touch DNA.
That's right.
You've
got blood. You've got blood. You've got the bloody footprint. You've got the blood on the handrail. Okay, we now know that Dylan ran downstairs, so like that's 1 + 2. But on top of it, that's the other thing that's irritating. They tested that blood apparently, or what was it? It was under Maddie's fingernails, and they said they keep saying that it's inconclusive to make it sound preferable for the prosecution, and because then it sounds like, well, it could be his, but we can't prove it. But that's not how it's in the scientific premise of it. Isn't that way? In other words, there's no more proof it's him than anyone else. That's the way that has to be taken, right?
Well, yeah, from the prosecution side, but the hard part of that is it still went through the investigative technology and investigative side of things on the defense team and their experts, and it completely excludes Brian Koberger. So now when we get to trial, the prosecution's not even going to be able to try to whittle it in that it could possibly be Brian Koberger because he's excluded. It's out. I mean,
right. That's what I'm saying. So that's the PR game that the prosecution has been playing since the beginning. They get their shots in, they get their narrative out there, and that's what pisses me off.
Yeah, but that's not new. I mean, I hate to say that. This isn't new. This has been going on for years upon years within, the realms of trials and the hearings and everything of that nature. But what I think is so new is just how in-depthly people are following this case and finding, as the more research that they do, it just doesn't make sense. There's nothing that you really legitimately piece together that makes full sense unless you've already deemed this individual as guilty by following the narrative built from the beginning. And I just don't think that's the way that our system should work. I mean, it's sad that now people's opinions and discussions outweigh the actual evidence that's being presented.
Right. We have this like information society now, so we can all use these OSINT tools. We all have our own life experiences we bring to the table. It's like all these amateur detectives, and people like to shit on people that do that. But I think it's awesome personally, because people are showing interest, and it is going to create more and more problems for, these local court systems as this continues, right? What do you think?
I absolutely agree. So let's utilize a quick example to show how some of this is going to unravel and where people are going to significantly see some issues. This case is completely under gag order, and a new picture of Brian Koberger comes out for all to see. That's a selfie picture of him in his bathroom that's deemed to have come from his personal cell phone. Well, that cell phone has been in custody of law enforcement since the day he was arrested. That cell phone would be tested not only by the local law enforcement there in Moscow, but the Idaho State and also the FBI. So now all of a sudden, here we are sitting just less than a month away to a big hearing, a motion of limine, which is a big hearing. This is a big deal in this case. And all of a sudden, in a gagged case, a picture coming from the defendant's phone miraculously ends up with News Nation to be publicized to everybody out and about.
Wait, let me stop you before I want to hear you, but so that picture is not from the court documents?
From what I understand, I know it's in the court documents.
Okay, gotcha.
But from the circulation of a little bit of discussion around kind of the outside skirtings of what I've found, is that picture actually was given out to people before it was actually released in the documents.
Got it.
And the problem with that is that picture should have been under seal. That's an exhibit. That's a picture that's being utilized that they claim is going to back Dylan Mortenson's testimony. But if you really think of how this probably portrayed out, is that picture probably went from an FBI to the Gonzalez family, which then ends up with the Gonzalez favorite place to go speak, which is Ashley Banfield and News Nation. Now they have their hands on it, and it's being released to the masses, and it's being dissected as if this is some miraculous piece of evidence in this case.
Oh, yeah, that's so frustrating. That pissed me off. And so thanks for clarifying that, because I had heard people saying that Steve Gonsalves leaked it. And I'm like, no, it's in the court documents. But now I understand that perspective. That makes sense to me. But, you know, it pisses me off because it's a fucking picture. Okay. And for people to rip him apart, his appearance, he does look sickly. He looks gaunt. I'm not going to speculate, but he doesn't look well. But how many times have we taken pictures of ourselves and sent it to people? It just pisses me off. Right. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to say that.
No, but that's absolutely truth. It's like right now I'm behind an emblem while we do this live, probably because I don't look 100% well today myself. And I have the ability to kind of deflect that and hide, you know, the way I look today. Brian Koberger has no right to that privacy, even though that should have been locked down. That shouldn't even have been released at this time.
Never. It's so prejudicial. Can you imagine if he was you know, an American Indian, like, or a black person? Can you fucking imagine that?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. But also one of my,
and that happens to them, by the way, it does, you know. But
oh, absolutely. But also tell me that, how's that picture prove anything in regards to guilt or this young man being involved in any sort of crime? It's a selfie picture at 10 o'clock in the morning wearing a nice button-up shirt. I don't care if he looks sickly. You know what?
Like, what does that have to do with jack shit? Nothing.
I don't judge people that are battling demons or maybe just having a rough day and not looking well. I mean, I get it. I understand. There is a slew of people every single day across this country that wake up to an addiction or they have an issue. That doesn't mean they committed a quadruple homicide 4 hours before that selfie picture that they took.
It was so incredibly prejudicial, you know, and it was so obvious what they're trying to do. And so that's what makes it more infuriating when, you know, they play their stupid game about the, you know, the defense. You know, when you hear the mainstream, which I try not to listen to, but it's even on YouTube, and they talk about, you know, basically they're ripping apart the way he looks, how it's creepy. Oh, he's creepy. and acting like there's these big bombshells that we're learning to prove he did it with the K-bar, the way that's represented. It's all, most Americans, unfortunately, we have been propagandized, is the best way to put it, through the school system to not question authority, to not know what our civil rights are. And so we're just supposed, we listen to what these people say, and we trust their critical thinking skills, which there are none. And so that's more and more people, like, are waking up to this and want to talk about it. And it's to see the other people who are still just saying these people are guilty, they're guilty. It's like I'm looking at them and I'm saying, what is it? Why aren't you giving this person the presumption of innocence? Like that's the principles of our country, right? And that's not what we see. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And this showcases, let's utilize the example of just YouTube content creation. And if we just separate out and we look at thumbnails just by themselves, just the creation of a thumbnail for people's content, with the newest information coming out, you can spell out the point of the narrative that's being driven by all this just based off the fact the people that have found Bryan Kohberger guilty have all the clickbait thumbnails, and those that are still walking down innocent until proven guilty have put out no thumbnails with clickbait or anything of that nature.
Good
And
point.
it's not
Good point.
it's not that we're afraid to discuss the things that are coming out in these documents, because we will I'll be one of the first people to step up and explain and talk about my feelings about what I'm reading in these documents, what I see. Some has zero meaning to me, and I have no reason to even talk about it. That's why it's called a motion of limine, because it's most likely not coming into trial anyway. So it has no meaning. And then people want to run with something like, oh, Bryan Kohberger's family is going to testify at the trial. It shows they are the informants that turned him in. And I'm calling straight BS on that.
Oh, 100%. Like, I'm so, it's anything to disparage. And I do think that, we know for a fact, this is just like a fact, that the government, they have journalists, like the CIA is still in journalism, right? And you can't think, I'm not saying people are CIA people on here, I'm not getting weird like that, but I will tell you there are definite operatives that are YouTubers or Twitter people that spread a message, and and they're going down a party line, and they create that narrative, and they try to create it anywhere they go. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I absolutely do. But I mean, these narratives have been running wild since the beginning. I mean, it's it's almost comical to watch. Like the people with the legitimate common sense, and I don't care whether you feel of a certain theory of how all this played out, but the people that legitimately are willing to just run with these narratives that come out and say, yep, that makes it so factually he's guilty. And it's like, these are the same things that have been said since the very beginning that have been disproven throughout the course of time. And they're continuously to still be stated as evidence in this case. And they're clearly not. These are clearly not pieces of this case. But and that's why I always just tell people, if you're willing to jump on guilt before you have any of the answers, then that's what just showcases the lack of common sense. Because
but you see, I agree with you, but I think a lot of these people who think he's guilty and are voicing it, they have their reasons. It's just that, like, they're
but their reasons,
I'd like to legitimately have a debate with someone, who's not an asshole, and talk about it, But I won't get upset about it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, they probably look at our theories or whatever we think because he's innocent and think, oh God, but I'd like to know why, so I would like to talk to somebody.
But,
like that.
I made that venture over, and I did a live show with Daniel of Drunk Turkey. And it's obvious that Daniel and I are on two completely different sides of how we feel in regards to this case. And I'm not saying like we're on two different sides. Where I say innocent, he says guilty.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Hold
not
on
the
1 second, AR. You keep talking.
no
Just
problem.
give me 1 second. I got it.
I mean that's not everybody, and she's going to be right back. But I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. For all of you that are in my chat, I appreciate you being here. I have some amazing people that I see. Ronnie Sutton from over the seas. It's good to see you, my friend. Christine, Nevada. Hope you are doing well and appreciate you. And James, here's my moderators of my channel. There are so many that are flying by that are talking that it's awesome to see all of you. I saw Catherine S. I see my beautiful Canadian friend Cheryl up in Canada. I hope all is going well. I hope you are keeping your head up high and spreading the love that you always do. Helen from Ireland, it's good to see you. And she's working her way back. I was just saying hi to everybody here in chat real quick.
Oh, good idea. Yeah. It's so hard for me to multitask because then I'll be over here forever.
I think everybody
everybody.
should hear the joke of you and I when we're preparing for these things in advance. And we both struggle to multitask. It's like a complete cluster shit trying to put these together because we're all over the place. And we're trying to find everybody. I swear we tried to find the common ground called organization, but that just didn't come into today's plan. So neither one of us have it. So
I fly by the seat of my pants often. So it's just.
Well, at least you wear pants. My wife would probably like it right now if I wasn't sitting in our living room doing a live with no pants on. But
oh my gosh.
And there is Les, your beautiful mod. It's great to see her. I absolutely adore her. I've had some amazing conversations with her behind the scenes as well. Just adore her. And I know you two have really gotten close as well, working the Karen Reed case, right?
Yeah.
The two of you have spent some good time. So
yeah, we had a good time up there. We had a really good time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now you're going to Idaho, right?
I am. So March 31st, I have an eye appointment to meet with the 3 surgeons that are going to be working on my eyes. And I told them they can't do anything till I get back to Idaho, which they're not jumping up and down about, but I am set on going to Idaho. We leave on the 7th. We get into Idaho late on the 7th, and then we're going to spend the 8th, the 9th, the 10th. I'll be doing lives. I'll go over to the Ada County Jail and do a live from the jail so everybody can kind of get the idea of the jail. We'll be at the courthouse on the 9th and the 10th for the hearings. I have so many amazing people that have reached out that want to meet with me when I get up into the area.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, some being from the area, some probably traveling to the area. So I've told the wife we're going to make plans to have some coffees and some lunches, and so we're going to end up getting drunk and fat. And no, I don't drink, but we're going to get to meet some of the amazing people and hopefully shake some hands and then share some stories. And so yeah, it should be.
That's awesome. I'm so excited for you two. That's going to be a really good time.
I'm going to do everything I can to not end up in the cell block next to Brian Koberger in Ada County.
All right.
So hopefully the wife can keep me reeled in because you just never know, you know, but
I bet you she will. I bet you she will.
She's got a pretty good choke chain on me, just kind of, you know, keeps me
she's
in
tough.
check.
I can tell. She's not going to put up with any bullshit. She'll be like, quit playing.
Yeah, she has deemed that I'm not allowed to ever get into trouble with the law again. So, you know, I've tamed my life down to the point that I don't take the risk of that type of stuff. Like I don't even drive anymore. I don't want the risk of being pulled over for any reason and getting a ticket for no driver's license or something stupid, you know. So I've really just nipped all that stuff in the butt. So,
well, my grandmother used to always tell me when I was a young teenage girl trying to get into trouble, to not put myself in compromising positions. That was one of her favorite things to say to me. Don't put yourself in compromising positions. That's what she
And
would
that's
say.
great advice because I've found myself numerous times that I found myself actually getting into trouble.
Hmm.
It's because I made a decision that put myself at risk. It wasn't even always that I went out to do something,
No, I trust me, I know because
you
I've
know?
gotten into some shit, you know,
Yeah,
nothing like you, but I'm just saying, like, I've gotten into shit and it was always, I wasn't going out to start trouble. It just happened to be there and I made the stupid decision to do something and that's it.
it's awesome when that happens, isn't it? It's
Impulsivity will
awesome.
fuck you up. Like,
And that's why I just avoid it. And I spend as much quality time at home with my wife and my dogs. And
it's
then,
no, it's smart. You know, when I was a kid, I probably would have been diagnosed if they checked it for oppositional defiance. You know, I was just like, I always said like question authority. Like I walked out of the womb like that. So I was always like, you know, nobody could tell me what to do. And it's
right.
just, it's not a good look, you know, and it's one of the things now as I've gotten older, it took a long time, but one of the things I try to pride myself on now, at least, is that I can control my fucking emotions.
I'm a work in progress in regards to that. But the one thing I'm really focused on is so I'm an artist by trade. I do a lot of drawing. I used to do a lot of, the graffiti, and I do a lot of ink work, a lot of different things. So
Mhm.
the wife is, because she realizes I've started to get a little bored around the house, she said, "Why don't you put your mind together about putting together merchandise for yours channel, and then try to create some for my channel?" So, I kind of started working with a couple of different hat designers and different people to start putting together hats. I'm going to click myself off of the no cam here from it, and I don't know if you've seen the new hat. It's kind of a funny story. So I went in to have this hat. I can't even find where my mouse went. Don't you hate that when you can't see where your mouse went? But so I went, obviously I had the Convicts Thoughts hat
Oh,
on,
cool.
but I went and I worked on designing a new one. Why can't I get it in front of the actual camera?
Oh, I like
So
that.
I'm
I
in the
like the lettering
process,
on it.
and I like to do most things in the fitted hat look. What, my
Mhm.
camera is horrible. And I wear 7 1/4s, but we didn't pay enough attention when Jen and I were having this printed up and all made, because these are handmade. But
Wow,
this
they're
is
handmade? That's
yeah,
nice.
7 3/4. So
Mhm.
it's way too big for my head. Like I can literally wear it over the top of the one that I have on now.
Right.
So what I was talking to Jen about what I want to do, because we're gonna do coffee mugs, hats, t-shirts. Is I think that I'm gonna start sending those out to all my members as
Mhm.
just an appreciation, like thank you. But the hats right now, you can get them in any color. I'm gonna have like 50 different fonts, 50
Do you
different.
have, like, a website set up for it yet, or
I'm working on all that.
you
Yeah,
know
we're
what's so
working on all
funny?
that. So
AR, I literally just I made a website and I made a bunch of merchandise, and I have some, like, it's pretty cool, I think. I've got, like, Free Turtle Boy, I have Exonerate Brian, I have Presumption of Innocence, I have a bunch of stuff, but I didn't really wanna I don't wanna didn't wanna really push it or anything, but it's out there, so,
right,
um,
I
yeah,
think
I'll
it's
have
a
to
great
send you the
idea.
link so you can check it out.
I'm going to work on like positive things that come to my mind about changing life, from the thought process that I had when I was in trouble to the
Mhm,
positivity of not being in trouble,
mhm.
and put those types of things onto shirts and hats. And because we can, and I try to tell people, one of my biggest things that I have to tell myself every day, we we can all try to change. We can
Mm.
all try to change. And a lot of times we struggle to do so. And there's always one key reason why it's such a struggle. We haven't figured out that it's not a need to change. Nobody needs to change. You
Mhm,
have to want to change. And
mhm.
when you want it, it's so easy to do it. If you need to do it, it's almost like a burden.
Absolutely.
It's a
Yeah, I don't
job.
yeah, like, if I'm doing it for any other reason other than the fact that I want to, I'm just gonna be resentful.
Yeah, and like what a judge would tell me, well, you have to go to you have to go to this type of therapy, or you have to go to this type of, and I'm like, I don't have to do anything,
That's absolutely right. You know,
you know.
that's you have to take that away so that you feel empowered, because that is the truth. We don't have to fucking do anything.
I've told judges that before when they're like, well, a part of your conditions are you have to do this, you have to do this. And I said, well, legitimately, all I have to do is go sit back in my jail cell if I choose to not do that. There's no have to do
Right.
anything.
It's just a matter of the
You know?
consequences, right?
Right. I mean, you can tell me I have to do something, and the next thing you know, you're gonna have two middle fingers up in the air saying, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's I've had that problem my whole life too, and
No.
it can get to places, and you know, I've definitely, like I said, it's taken a long time to get here. You know, like I've had some shit go down, and I'm just happy that I'm able to do that now. And I realize how important that is. And I know you can, I know you've done it too. It's like obvious, right? And
Right.
so, because it's fighting sort of an instinct that I've always had, which is like, let's go, you know what I mean? And so, when you had, and honestly, what it boiled down to for me was just freedom, right? Like that, I value it so much that was sort of, I think, one of the ways I protected it. So it's just not an effective way, really, long term.
And I think that's one of the most difficult things for me is I didn't, and I still don't to this day value free. I don't care about the freedom.
Hmm.
I care about my wife. That's the thing that I latched onto when the word want comes into play. Is I finally found something that made me want other things.
Hmm.
And I could work hard to go pursue those other things. Because
Hmm.
if you take away Jen, I
Hmm.
wouldn't be free right now. I would not
Hmm.
be out here right now. I mean, I would still be in the same cluster of whatever I was doing at the time, and
And
I
how
would.
long have you guys known each other?
So we met. Oh, what year did we met? We met officially through like a friend in 2007, and
Okay.
then she went her way for a while, and I was in the midst of a court battle,
Hmm.
and I ended up losing that court battle. And so I was going back to DOC, but instead of turning myself in, I decided to go on the run.
That's
That's
a
a
lot more fun.
whole nother long story. Uh, so obviously I knew I was going to the penitentiary, and Jen and I reconnected in 2008.
Hmm.
She went on the run with me.
I
We
love it.
got married in
There's so many
2000.
good theme songs I'm going through my head right now. Take the money and run.
Uh,
What's that other one? Shit. Yeah, but anyway, go ahead.
so then we got married in 2009, and she served out the entire prison sentence with me as um, I was caught not long after we got married, and
Hmm.
then we served out the time, and then in 2018 we were reconnected and back out here full time together,
Hmm.
and then I've stayed out of trouble ever since. So I mean,
She is
it's
what you call ride or die.
yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, it was hard too, but
Yeah,
she survived, and you know, she made me better for
I
it.
love that, like, you have that person. Like, I feel like not everybody has that person, even if they're married. So, like, the fact that you're married and you have that person, like, it's just such a, you know, it's just such an amazing, like, for me, those are like soul connection type things. Like, it's just one of those things where you see your reflection, the other person, they help you and they help you grow and shit. And it's just beautiful. So I'm happy for you.
Well, and she stepped in when we were just beginning to think about dating. I guess that's a good word. Thinking about dating. Like
Mhm.
I was a certain way in life that she couldn't accept.
Yeah,
She could accept
absolutely.
it. She could say, I could be your friend and acquaintance, but there's nothing more than that. And I said,
Not
well,
with the way you're behaving right now.
right,
You better get your shit together,
right,
and then maybe you can take me out, right?
right. And then when I said, so, if I did want to pursue more than a friendship, where do we have to be? And she laid it out
I
right
love
in
it.
front of me, and it didn't take me but 10 seconds to say done.
Mhm.
And she looked right at me and she goes, "What?" And I said,
That's
"Done."
because most women, and I shouldn't say this. I can say this. Younger women, immature and experienced, play a lot of games. Men appreciate it when you just say what the fuck you want. They really do.
Right. Well, and that was the first time I think in my lifetime where someone just stepped up to the plate to me and said, "Look, this is what it is.
Hmm.
Hey, you can make the choice. Like I'm not going to make the choice for." I was so tired of everybody making the choice for
Yeah,
me
absolutely. No,
that I
yeah, no, she
just
was smart enough to understand that,
yeah,
it's like I like you, but it's not up to me. It's up to you. So step up or not. Like I'm gonna live my
right.
life.
And the initial part of our friendship, literally, she was visiting me in the hospital because I got badly injured in a situation of
Hmm.
violence, and I had got badly injured. I was in the hospital having major neck surgeries, and she was coming to see me
Jeez.
every day just
Yeah,
as a
I mean,
friend.
come on, that's like a keeper, right? Like she
Right?
went through prison with you. She
Yeah,
went through you're
she went
sick,
through
like,
everything. Yep.
that's
There's
awesome.
nothing more than you could ever ask of somebody than what it's been laid on Jen's plate
Mhm,
that she has overcome. Like I thought my life was difficult, but I
mhm,
never thought somebody's life trying to take care of me could be so difficult. And then I
mhm.
realized watching through the days, like, damn, you went
Right,
through
right.
all that, really? And
Yeah.
you still actually like me?
Right,
Wow.
right,
Yeah. I mean
right.
that's amazing. That's amazing. But
That's awesome. Very
and I
cool.
I think that's what's key is, there's always somebody. And even when we go back to someone like a Brian Koberger, or we
Mhm,
go to these other people, and I know the Idaho Force, one of the big things everybody has in sight, there's always somebody that's in these people's lives, like a Brian Koberger, that means something to them that can make the difference in their lives. And I
mhm.
believe that when Brian Koberger began to make the transition from his narcotic usage life to going to get an education and trying to fulfill that, there had to
Mhm.
be somebody in that life that helped him go that direction,
I
because
understand.
I
Mhm.
I mean, I just don't see him transitioning. And people would say, "Well, it's because he got bullied or because of his weight or this or he was just odd." No, that's I was too. I was odd too. That's not what made me go a different direction.
Yeah, it's interesting. You wonder like what kind of connection or person or people. I mean, he did have uncles who were in the military, and I think his grandfather on his father's side was a police officer. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of his mother's father. I feel like somebody was a police officer, though.
I mean, there's a good chance. But I
Yeah.
mean, he still had to make the overall decision. Like, I'm going to take the narcotic usage and I'm going to transition into a PhD level student. And that's not easy for anybody to
Oh my
do,
God, no,
you
absolutely
know.
not.
And
That's a
I
lot of
feel
discipline. You have to be smart, but you have to be disciplined. You can't not be
right.
disciplined.
And I think that's why, like, I've had a few conversations here recently within the documentation of why would the defense want certain keywords nullified from being used at trial.
Mhm.
Well, I get that's a tough discussion to have because I've been through trials, I've been through these things, and normally defense attorneys aren't asking for certain words to be taken off the table and talked about at trial. It's
Right.
just an open dialogue in trial. They can call you whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's kind of I'm a big free speech person. I get it that like certain word, but that's language. Like that's not he's
right,
not going to be proven a murderer because you use the word eyebrows. Like,
right.
but I get these. They have you know what they have to fight for everything tooth and nail because it's a death penalty case.
And I get it. I do. And look, you couldn't sway me either way on whether death penalty is ethical or unethical, or I mean, I don't think about that much. And I've lived literally right next to death row. We called it the death house in Arizona
Hmm.
because that's where everybody that was on death row was housed. So you get to know some of these people, you talk to them in passing, and you kind of I guess, formulate some sort of bond with them. And I used
Yeah.
to tell them all the time, it's
They're
like, dude,
human beings, right? I mean,
yeah,
at the
I
end
mean,
of the day, they're fucking fellow human beings,
and that's really what it was. But people ask me, "Did you get this? Now you don't believe in the death penalty?" Or I never gave two shits either way.
Mhm.
And to this day, I still wouldn't be the one that you would want to ask whether it's a good or a bad thing to have. I just think as long as the crime suits it, and that's the decision that's made, then
No,
that's
I understand that perspective. I mean, this is something that it's one of those things I've thought about since I was in like college, and there was a time when I was just like for the death penalty, like if I had to think about it or whatever, but I never really knew why. And the more and more I thought about it, I mean, I've definitely come to a conclusion and I'm 100% against the death penalty, because the first reason, honestly, the first and foremost is because I don't think we should ever allow the government to have control like that over to be able to kill someone. It's a bad move. I don't trust the government anyway. And then beyond that, we're one of the last countries that actually enact the death penalty. The United Nations calls it inhumane. So we're really barbaric in that sense. I understand that people want to exact revenge, but I just don't think it's the government's place to exact that revenge. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
I guess I stand with you in that regards, because I don't like it when a system has the overall say to, because I mean let's put the Idaho 4 case against Brian Koberger into perspective. The way that this death penalty is being portrayed to everybody out there is actually quite sickening,
Yes.
in the fact that we have people talking about a firing squad. I,
Mhm.
I I personally don't think that the discussion should ever be by the means of how someone's life is taken. Leave that completely out of the conversation. Keep that in private. It's just whether or not they get the death penalty. And at the end of the day, most of these people sit on death row for 50 years or more. So I
And
know
that's
some,
the other piece, though, that to me, that's what adds to the cruel and unusual punishment of
right.
it. Because some of these people end up getting look, the question is, has anyone ever been exonerated posthumously, right? If
Mhm.
the answer is one, then we should not fucking be doing that. Okay. Like that's the end of the discussion.
Right. I just know, like me, people have asked me, in long sentences, let's say, I was never getting out. I had 100-year sentence. I wasn't getting out of the penitentiary. I'll tell you right now, it's like I would rather go ahead and you take my life tomorrow than me spend 100 years on a maximum security shit-filled yard, because the stress and the issues that you go through within the penitentiary just are not worth it. They're not worth it. And
So you're saying in some ways that isn't like necessarily a bad thing, but you could give the option. I mean, I'm all about the freedom of people's choices, and you could give the option, like if a prisoner wanted you to do that. But I think you could get yourself killed in jail if you want to. I don't think that's probably a hard
well,
thing to do.
I would have to say that the majority of the people that get life sentences, meaning they're just not getting out. There's no hope.
Right.
You don't have parole. So the people
Triple
that
life. If you
right,
die and come back, you're going to the penitentiary.
even the people that get 25 to life with the possibility of parole, there's still a percentage of those that fall into the same category. But it's the majority of the ones that are never coming home. They typically take two paths when they get into the yard. One, they just don't care anymore. And others people's lives are at major risk because they have nothing to lose at that point.
Yes.
And I found myself as a young man, I fell into the category that other people were in danger because I just didn't care. So if you got in my way, you were in danger. And that didn't mean I wasn't in danger, because they could easily get me just the same as I could get them. But
You just
I
had no
just
fucks left to give.
I just didn't care.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to use the phone and you were in the hall on the phone, and I felt like it was my time to use the phone, and I was going to miss my phone time, you were in danger. Like, we were scrapping it up so I could use
That's
the
why,
phone.
you know what,
You know?
though? And there are people that walk by us every day or drive by us every day on the street that have this attitude. And that's why I tell my girls and I tell anybody that I know, don't fucking get worked up with people. You don't know what they're dealing with and you don't know what the consequence will be. So somebody wants to flip me off when I was 20, yeah, I'd flip them off. Now I just look away. I got nothing to say because I don't want to get shot in the head because this person is looking for somebody to fucking, you know what I mean?
Yep. I'm gonna try to answer something here out of the chat. I don't know if
Sure.
it's on your side or on my side. It's Estes Crime Maze. And it's in regards to, obviously, people know in my past I had a little bit of an affiliation. You know, I made some choices in the past to hang around with people that probably were not the best choices of individuals to hang out with. Can I still discuss evidence of the atrocity being controlled gang hit based upon Jay Embry's theories and thoughts and think Farley? I think there's another portion to that. So I'm trying to think of the best way to attack this one post because, you know, in regards to speaking about the affiliations, different people within the affiliations handle themselves differently, I guess is a good way to say that. I'm not sure if you were trying to post that one or a different one. But,
No. I just put that up because I was reading it, but I'm listening to you because that person asked you a question and it sounds like you really don't know how to answer it.
Well, I'm trying to think of the best way to.
What was the question again?
So if you scroll up, I don't know if I can put it up on the screen.
Oh wait, is this it right here?
That's part of it, and then there's a second portion of that, and I'm trying to think of the best way that I can kind of attack this question with.
I see. Okay, they kind of want your opinion because we've got people on the YouTube streets talking about a big, you know, we know like these kind of things, and there's a lot of people that follow that, and I don't say that it's not possible. It's one of the things I think is in the mix. I just don't know. So they're asking you, I guess. Is that what it is?
So the best way I can kind of attack this because Post, you and I both know that there is a content creator that has put together a lot of work into what he's portraying out to be his theory and his thoughts. And he's piecing together the puzzle pieces the best way he feels as though he can to get to
his own perspective. We all have our own perspective. I can't knock anybody, like it's
so, and that's the number one thing that I want to make sure that my answer, I want people to understand. I'm not making my answer to disrespect anybody or try to dictate or change what they have to say.
No, yeah, I respect. I don't have any problems with people. You know what I mean? Like I respect everybody's opinion. I think
a lot of people, and I have a very good actual member of my channel, and this is somebody that's supported me for a long time, that has even made the statement they would love to see this other creator and I come together and have a full-blown discussion to where we could discuss thoughts, but we could portray our different knowledges and things.
I think a lot of people would like to see that.
So, the number one thing I could say is I do know the affiliation that's being discussed in the theory rather well. But people do also need to understand there's a difference of back in the 2015, 2016 day and age of an affiliation and the 2025 day and age of an affiliation. So
absolutely. I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like right around 2016 is when a lot, in my opinion, and this could just be media propaganda, but I feel like it's grown quite a bit since 2016.
Majorly.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
as I was leaving the penitentiary, the affiliations were getting stronger and stronger by the minute.
Mhm.
But luckily, I not only was leaving the penitentiary, I was leaving that whole life
Now,
altogether.
how do you do that? How is that possible?
You put your life at risk.
That's what I figured. No, that's good. Yeah,
Um,
because people say, "Oh, I used to work for the CIA. I used to be in this gang." It's like, what do you mean used to? That the CIA and those gangs are the same, in my opinion. You don't leave, right?
you're not supposed to be able to. That's
Yeah.
correct. But in today's world, they now have step down programs where they do encourage people to step down, but they still don't offer the right protections and the right, you know, hurdling things to help you
Right.
legitimately survive that step down. But
Yeah.
my like one of the biggest things I can state in regards to when I was more involved compared to when this case would have been happening is our portion of the affiliation, and there's different portions, were completely against narcotics. We did
Okay.
not allow anybody under the age of 26 in the penitentiary anywhere near narcotics.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
weren't allowed to
That's
deal
like
in
the old mob rule. The mob was like that
right.
too. I'm pretty sure.
And in
Right?
today's society now, that's changing quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um,
No code among criminals, right? Like that shit.
right. And that's changing quite a bit. So even though I don't fully back the idea of, let's just put it out there, his theory, like I
Mhm.
don't follow step by step. I know some of the people that he's talking about
Mhm.
in that theory, but I
Mhm.
know them from my past days. I don't know them today. I don't talk to them today. So I don't know
Right.
what they're involved in today. I don't know
Mhm.
what hoopla they've gotten themselves into. I know a couple of the people that I know now have major life sentences and they're never going home, and a couple of them are probably going to be on death row.
Mhm. Mhm.
They've really made some poor decisions, but
Mhm.
that's a part of what that affiliation is. So if somebody
Yeah.
came to me and they said, could you possibly see this as a reason for this?
Mhm.
Yes, I can. I
Mhm.
can't dismiss it. I
Mhm.
could absolutely see it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
I agree. Like it's not like, oh, it's done, like, you can't. No, it's
right.
logical. I can make that leap.
Whether I like the idea of certain people potentially being involved in that, it doesn't matter where I like the idea or I don't like the idea. They could potentially very well be a part of it. And
Mhm.
me being over here trying to hold on to my emotional side of the chaos would be like, no, no, there's no way. But
Mhm.
there actually is a way,
Yeah.
and that's the bad thing in regards to these affiliations. They're ruthless. They're
Mhm.
absolutely ruthless. And, when he talks about the Arizona portion of this, where do you think I did a lot of my time? I'm from
Mhm.
Arizona.
Right.
Like,
I remember you talking about
I,
Arizona. Yeah.
so I get the whole thing. Like, I could
Right.
put
You
it
get
all
what he's
together.
putting down, right?
Um,
You just having some trouble maybe saying, yeah, because
well,
you know some of those people.
I, well, and even more so, I just don't want to think about that style of life.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to jump back into that whole mix and be able to fully describe this or that because, like I said, times have changed.
Right. No, I understand. You're
Um,
not accusing or anything.
right.
I understand what you're saying. This is
So
just
the
like,
people that taught me and that I intertwined myself with
mhm,
had a far different respect factor that would never have done anything like this. It just wouldn't be what we would do. This wouldn't be how we would handle things. This isn't like if I put myself back in my old shoes and it was going to be a violent scenario, we didn't go after women. We didn't
mhm,
go after college kids. We
mhm,
didn't go after people trying to do something good in their life. We went after the problems.
mhm.
So we would go to the informant and get the informant. We would
Right.
not go and I know in today's society, because I've learned this and I get it, because even when I was transitioning out of the penitentiary, we used to have a saying, if we can't get you, we can get anybody and everybody that you love or loves you. We can go get them. Trust me.
Right.
So I get it.
Yeah.
God, if that's the case, if this concept is the case, I sure hope our justice system, law enforcement, the FBI really digs in and gets the right people involved. Because, and I could even look at myself in my past and say, I didn't belong on the streets with my actions and what I was doing in life.
Yeah, and the way that bail is now and stuff, holy shit, like
Right.
in New York City, people were arrested for throwing body parts out the window and they got bailed out that day. I'm like, are you fucking serious? That's where we're at right now.
I think our justice system too is in a tough place, because I remember I had an actual felony 3. It was just a burglary charge, but there were people in harm's way when I committed that burglary, meaning I went into an establishment that people were in at the time. So they deemed it as putting them at risk. So my bail was $1 million, where most people's bail on that burglary charge would be 25,000. You put up 2,500 in a car title and you go
you
home.
needed 100 grand. Shit.
No, I had to have $1 million. Mine was cash only. They did not want me out.
You didn't even get to do a percentage. Okay.
No. So they deemed me a major risk. Like when I finally got caught with Jen, I picked up 3 new charges when I got caught with Jen, and they were all stupid charges. I mean, stupid charges. And Jen and I were trying to get bail, and the judge shook his head and says, "You seriously think I'm giving you any
like
bail?
What? Like you've been
are you
out
kidding
and about for
Yeah.
Dude,
Dude,
giving no fucks about what you're supposed to be doing over here.
You were not getting out whatsoever. And I'm like, damn, man, I thought I was going home today. We had cash ready to go to bail me out. And they're like, dude, you're not going anywhere. Nowhere.
So funny.
And I've distanced myself. So I know a lot of people really enjoy Jay Embry's stuff. And I know he's really grown, and he's got quite the following. A lot of people really enjoy his work. And I'm going to tell people I've been very careful what I watch. I just don't want to get brought back into the discussion. I don't want to discuss something that I feel like I know. So I start relaying something I feel like I know, but it's
and you misrepresent it or something.
Yeah, it's changed so much.
Yeah, because you don't want to misrepresent people. It's just not a good idea. No, I agree. I hear exactly what you're saying.
I think the respect factor, and people would say, when did gangs ever have respect?
No, but there is a level of respect you have to make sure you're paying. And so
we very early on, and I'm talking about some of the good old boys of the affiliation that started it all. I mean, they had very strong beliefs. I understand that they were politically motivated and they were also racially motivated. Not everybody that got into that affiliation, and I want to stress this, was racially motivated. I didn't get in for a racism situation. That wasn't a part of the reason why I was involved. Mine was money. Mine was financial. Mine was literally, I had a group of people that was going to protect me.
I think, well, that was kind of a question I had thought about for you, and you just kind of answered it. But yeah, you have like certain groups that like you got to follow. It's tribalism, right? Like it's fucking tribalism. Like you got to survive the best way you can. And if you're white, it's not like you can join the black guys, even if you want to, you know what I mean? Like, or the Hispanics, right? I mean, they probably end up in both groups, I would imagine. How does that work?
Well, it depends on where you're at in the country and the racial beliefs. You have to understand the West Coast is far more racially divided than the East Coast is. When you go to East Coast lockups, it's more mingling between the races. When you're in Arizona, California, you don't go near another race, that you are with your race, and this is the way it is. It doesn't matter if you're politically involved with any type of affiliation. This is the expectation. Don't break that. Otherwise, they break you. And it's like, okay, well, damn, you got to learn a certain way. And it's not an easy thing when you go into, let's just like a young man. I remember when I had been there a while, and this young kid comes walking in. I knew right off the bat. I took one look at him. I said, this kid's lunch is about ready to get ate. So I walked up to him. I said, follow my lead. Don't do what I do, but listen to what I have to say, and you'll stay out of trouble. Like, I don't even want to know why you're here. You're obviously just this little kid. You don't belong here, dude. Like, this is not where you're. And then later, and I write. I still mean to send you some of my writing, and I apologize.
Yeah, I know. I enjoyed what you sent me, and I already had questions going. So if you follow up,
I wrote about him and how, his situation. I'll send that to you actually after the show so that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. But it's like I stepped up to the plate to protect him, not as an affiliated member, but as a person. Like, we were two individuals in a bad place, and he didn't belong in that bad place where I knew I did, but I wasn't going to let other people take advantage of him. So a lot of the people, I guess my point of what we're seeing within this creator's theories, they've whittled their own way into why they could be seen as potentially people that could commit a crime like this. I'm not saying they did, and I'm not saying they, that they are part of it. I'm just saying these people have earned, like the Skylar Meade out of Idaho. He broke out of penitentiary and took the life of a couple of people.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't forget that little fucking tidbit.
Right. And I don't know him personally because he came into the game after I had already left the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know people that do know him, and he's highly dangerous. So those type of people you can always look at when a crime that breaks out like this, if they don't have the same respect factors as someone that's old school like me, they're a new wave of individuals. So it's like, could they potentially? Yeah, I mean, they're off the hinges.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, and that's why it's it's one of those things you just want to be careful about, like when you're talking about, I try to always be careful, no matter who it is, whether they're, what it is for me. It's like, I try to always be respectful because I don't know what the fuck happened. Sometimes I have a really strong feeling that it's this or that, but ultimately then I hear something else and it pulls me down that hole. And so all I know is there's too many unanswered questions here. And Brian just has never fit from day one. He just has not fucking fit.
Right. And that, I guess that's what's so hard for me, because I come from the background of crime. And I'm not going to say like I'm on some mentally ill spectrum or anything of that nature. Like I probably am mentally ill, but
aren't we all though? Aren't we all?
It's based off the decisions that I choose to make. It's not based off of, I had a rough upbringing. I had, things that could have molded me into a certain type of person, but I never blame that type of stuff.
Right. Because you're an adult. And so like yeah.
I made my choices, and I know, like, I can think back to when I was making those choices, and I knew right from wrong. I knew what
exactly. Like when I was an alcoholic, I knew I was a fucking alcoholic. I fucking knew I was. So like, it wasn't a shock to me. I just wasn't ready to deal with it. And then I was,
Yep. But when I
Brian, Brian doesn't really fit that mold.
No,
though.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, okay, so I got this habit of summing people up, and you look at them kind of out of the side of your eye, like I used to do when I hit the yard. When I was on a yard and you would go out to wreck and other people would come out to wreck, you would sum them up. You would look at them and, what am I dealing with here?
Right, because you're in the jungle. You're in the jungle and you're looking for the predator that you have to worry about. All the other ones don't matter.
But you know what? It's funny too, because, you also want to sum up the financial guys that could help
Mhm.
you financially. You want to sum up the people that could connect you with the narcotics to help
Mhm.
you financially. So you sum them up. Everybody had a different category that you would break them down into, and
Yeah.
you'd put them into your little wallet and stash them away. Like, I could use this guy for this later. You know what I mean?
And the thing is you probably can't really afford to be wrong, so you sharpen that instinct like crazy,
Yeah.
right?
And that's the thing. Like, when you're wrong, you're wrong,
Yeah.
and it affects a lot. Like, even if you make a let's not even say like the violent side. Let's not even say you misrep somebody that's bigger or stronger. Let's say
Mhm.
you misrep somebody like a Brian Koberger that could possibly be far more intelligent than you
Mhm.
and be able to outthink you.
Mhm.
Well, that's going to affect you in many ways. It could affect your business dealings on the yard because he
Mhm.
could make the connections with the different players and
Yeah,
take
he's
away.
Machiavelli behind the scenes. He could fuck
Right.
everything up, you know?
So there goes your financial capabilities.
Yeah.
There you go. And but when I sum up Brian Koberger, and we've now almost had 3 years to do this. Like,
Mhm.
we've been able to do this from the day that he was arrested, moving forward. We see all the news articles, we see what everybody's saying, but then you can see him as he walks in and out of court, the way he handles himself in court. And people would say, well, that's far different than what you're. No, it's not far
No,
different.
it's I don't yeah, I would tend to I've never been, you have, so you can tell me, but I think people in those situations, honestly, like
Well,
their
and
lawyer
that
would probably tell them be yourself. Because if you try to be somebody else, people are gonna,
well,
they're
it's a
gonna know.
natural reaction. And I think where people misrepresent what's truly happening in that courtroom, when you look at Brian Kober, your natural reactions will always come out
Mhm.
because anytime the judge says something you don't like,
Mhm.
your natural reaction, that
Mhm.
how you typically handle something you don't like,
Mhm.
comes out.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
have an anger issue, you showcase the anger issue. You
Mhm.
can't
Yeah.
hold that back.
And
It's not.
I've seen people who have been charged do that. Like they have whole YouTube videos of these people flipping out.
Jen will tell you, I almost knocked my lawyer out in the courtroom during a
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
because she misspoke about something. It wasn't her that was the problem. It was her sidekick lawyer. She missaid something. I
Mhm.
whispered to him to say something to her.
Mhm.
And he looked at me and said, "Just shut up. We'll say it when we want to." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'll show you what's up, dude." And
Yeah.
I'm like
Mhm.
chained and all. I just about, but that was a natural reaction that
Yeah, and
showcased,
and it wouldn't have
you
helped
know,
your case any, but at the
uh,
same time, I get what you're saying though. Like that's not Brian, right?
Brian from the very beginning. He's steadfast. When you could tell from the beginning when he sat down with Ann Taylor, he initially answered the yes or no questions to the judge. He
Mhm.
was solid in his answers.
Mhm.
He didn't have to look around to try to figure it out. He knew what his plan was.
He was
He said
confident.
it. He was. And I've never seen him do anything disrespectful yet in the courtroom.
Mhm.
Nothing. He
Yeah.
hasn't browsed around the courtroom to wink at a girl in the courtroom.
Mhm.
I mean, like, I think of Richard Ramirez and these different people. They're mingling with the girls in the court.
They're
They're,
attention seekers. He's not an attention seeker.
and that's why it's like there's just something within him. Like, at the worst, in my opinion, I think he knows who did it.
Mhm.
I think he potentially knows the story of what this is.
Mhm.
He could have potentially dropped the person off a block
Mhm.
away, and then all of a sudden he knew what happened. I don't, I just don't see him being the one capable of an 8-minute quadruple homicide.
Especially seeing him now in that selfie the next day. That person does not look physically fit to do that. They don't look well. So whatever the fuck it is, okay? He looks like he just had the flu or something. I don't know.
I I don't see the individual within that picture even be able to handle Xana by
Right,
herself.
exactly,
You know,
exactly. Like he looks frail. I mean, he looks frail. I'm just gonna say it, and
yeah, and I That could be a photoshopped picture for all we know. I have no idea. I really have no idea.
That I should check it out. You can check that out. There's like, it's so much free AI shit now. You can just run it through and it'll tell you. It's a good point. That, it looks very similar, his face in that picture, because when he isn't well, if he's on drugs, say, or he's just sick, he has a medical condition. Okay, his face gets really thin in the lower part, and I'll never forget the first time I saw that picture of him. When he was in his addiction, I think, and his face, they blew up his eyebrows on purpose to make him, which one I'm talking about? It made me feel so sad inside because he just looked so sick there. And the way they were using this picture to just call him, an incel, it made me feel very sad.
Well, I mean, just everything about this. Like, I was just thinking the other day about that woman that went through all the trouble to create documents that he was fired from WSU and all these reasonings. And I'm thinking, when do we have to get to the point in discussing cases that we have to win the battle so much that we have to create things and then pass it around as if it's something
That
really
woman, you know what I want to know? What is the motivation? Because honestly, I understand it could just be clicks, right? But that person in particular you're talking about seems like she's got a lot more skin in the game than just clicks.
Yeah, and that's why I avoid people like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you and I were discussing before this, there's always somebody's reasoning to go on the attack, just like, people are out there right now on the attack of me that I'm being investigated for this or for that. And none of that is true. And I want to make that statement while you and I are both here. I'm not being investigated. There is no fraud. There is no conspiracy. There is no investigation. Just because people want to come in here and begin a rumor or begin a statement like this person, from what I understand, is solely out to prove things against me, but not willing to put the work in to realize that they're wrong. Like,
I can't. Yeah, like, did they invite you to talk, or they just are they? It's one of those people. They don't even try to talk to you. They just talk shit about you behind your back.
I've actually never even seen it. Evidently, it happened in other chats, and then it just got brought to my attention in my last live. But here's the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any debate in your mind that I've been to the penitentiary, whether I've done prison time, go do your homework. It's not hard to find. It's public record.
It's kind of funny because most people are trying to hide their criminal record, and you're like a convict's thoughts. Like, you're just like these jacket. That just proves to you, though, honest to God, it just proves to you the insanity. I mean, it's like pointless. Like, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares, bro. And so, like, they just want to pick something to start an argument with you, or whoever it is they have a bug up their ass about.
And I would happily say, I bet you if I came out here and I didn't use a Convicts Thoughts, I just created the name Uniquely Twisted. That used to be my tattoo company, Uniquely Twisted Inc. If I just use Uniquely Twisted, true crime, and I talked true crime, and I went on the guilter side of things, this is what people don't understand. I would have made more money as a guilter than you do as a not guilter. I would have had more subscribers as a guilter than a not guilter. But I wouldn't have made the great connection with the community because it would have been fake. It would have been absolutely fake for me to come into the game as somebody I'm not. Like, I can't come out here and act like I'm a law enforcement, law-abiding, all this citizen my entire life, because that's not who I was. That's not who, and life changes and you get better and you grow.
But that's how you know you've grown, though, because people who have been through something and have been able to change some habit of theirs that wasn't great or whatever, they are the ones that'll just be like, yeah, that I used to do that. Like, I was an asshole, or whatever it is. And you just because you've reflected on it and you've decided, like, that's not who you want to be anymore. So,
well, and I think a lot of people, when they first started watching me on YouTube, you knew I drank a little bit. Like, I would have sangria, and my wife and I were doing lives. I'd be drinking glasses of sangria. It became a problem. I had to quit drinking. So
wow. You know what's funny? This is what I never, and I've been following you pretty much since you started, and I don't remember that, but then I remember people saying it, and it's
Right.
funny how, I, I think some people are more prone to judging others more quickly or something. It's almost like they're looking for something to criticize. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I wasn't drunk on every show or anything like that. It was a random. I drank sangria. I liked
Yeah, I
sangria.
mean,
That
people
was the only
drink
thing.
like nobody cares, right? Like, why do people care, right? But I
And
guess
I
you.
I I quit cold turkey. Actually, I had to quit. I fell out in the shower. I was bleeding, and I got really sick, and I had to go to the hospital. So
Wow.
it was
Okay.
like, okay, I'm done doing this.
GI bleed? Are you saying like GI bleed? Like, or
No, I was bleeding out of the mouth from landing on the ground, and I
oh,
was
oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, yeah.
it was my diabetes. My sugar level was like 800, and I just
Yeah,
went to
alcohol's not
focus.
good for that. Yeah, you
Yeah,
already know though. You already know. So, but
and
if that woke you up,
right a year before that, I was a 2 pack a day cigarette smoker, and I just one night my wife says, "Well, we gotta go get you more smokes," and she hated me smoking. She
hmm
hated it.
hmm
I say, you know what? I'm just gonna be done. Like, I'm just not gonna do it anymore. She's
that's
like,
fucking
yeah,
awesome, bro.
yeah,
Can
right.
you
You've been
sell
doing
that?
it.
Can you put that in a bottle and sell that for people?
She's
Here,
like,
take
you've
one of
been
these AR pills. Just whatever you want to quit. You just take this shit and you're done. Like,
well, she's like, you've been smoking straight for 15 years.
hmm
And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And I haven't smoked since. I haven't had a cigarette since. I haven't wanted a cigarette.
that's fucking
And
awesome.
and people are just like, that's wholly crazy. But it was the want to change, the
Right.
want
No,
to do it.
absolutely. I hear you.
And
That's awesome though.
that's why I just stand on my own 2 feet when I come to the YouTube. Uh, I work with some amazing people. I learned my lessons through others, and I just keep moving forward. And I made the decision. I'm not going to speak negatively about anybody, whether I agree with you or don't. It's not my position to
Yeah, no,
speak
I agree
wrongly.
too. Like it's the same thing. Like I really don't. I'm not interested in doing that because honestly, like people could say all kinds of shit about me too. Like, and at the end of the day, I really don't care, right? Like,
Right,
but I'll talk about what other people are saying, and if I agree with it or not, just like they might do it to me, right? And that's fair. Like it's
right.
all good, Like that's how I feel about it. So. And I
I
actually like
did.
to hear the other side of things. I do like to debate people as long as people don't start getting nasty. Like I think it's interesting.
Well, that's what's so difficult. Like, I am more than open to having an Idaho 4 discussion with the guilter. If you
Mhm.
feel like Brian Koberger is guilty, I will absolutely have a discussion with you. We will talk about the differences of our opinions, but it has to be respectfully done
Yeah.
because I'm not here to get in an argument with somebody. I don't need to cuss people out
Yeah, it's
because
like
I,
that's
I
not
just
fun
don't
for
need it.
anybody, right? Like that's not fun for anybody.
Right. So, I mean, I always put out the invitation. If there's somebody who truly feels as though Brian Koberger is guilty and wants to have a legitimately respectful conversation about it, I am all open to doing it. I don't hide from any discussion or let's just keep it on the respectful side of things so that the people watching it can enjoy it
Right,
and they
right.
can share their opinions as well. So
Yeah.
that's just
Well, you never know if somebody comes along and I think the thing is most people who are really like that he's guilty are very emotionally invested. And so they get really triggered with, that's what I think, but I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to meet somebody who doesn't get that way so we can talk about it.
well. I get that way. So maybe no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Ah,
It's always so much fun when you and I are able to come together and get some work done. I know we don't do it a lot, but it's always a special time when we do, and
yeah,
I
I
just
really
really enjoy
enjoy
it.
it a lot. And I'm really looking forward to you going to Idaho and following that with you and Jen. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
And
just keep your eyes open. We'll have 3 pit bulls hanging out on the front doorsteps of the
that's
courthouse.
awesome. That's going to
I,
be so good.
I keep telling my wife, I just hope, if something negative gets said or something, Xander just takes a big dump right in the entrance doorway.
Right.
Just
Right.
Here, step in this, everybody that wants to be disrespectful. But I am looking forward to that. Getting to meet and shake hands with people. And I'm not a celebrity or anything, but I'm a normal individual and a normal human being that it's always cool to be able to meet people and learn
Yeah,
about them
absolutely.
and their place. So.
Yeah, that's going to be good. Well, I'm probably going to peace out. I usually go about an hour or so, and then I'm like ready to. I don't have the stamina that some people do.
Well, I was figured I'll tell everybody I'm going to probably go live myself and do a live on my own here in about an hour
awesome.
or so. So if anybody wants to come in about an hour, I'll do
All right, guys. You can, anybody that's here on my channel, make sure you go and check out AR because he's going to still be live. He's got more stamina.
Sometimes. But post it was awesome.
That Twizzle's got to fuck with me, right? If it's not 8 hours, it doesn't even count.
I'll tell you what, that Twizzle stick he has stamina. He could definitely go and go and go. So
I can't do it. Like I could, if it was a bigger panel or something, because I'll sit back and I'll watch, say you or whoever, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could tell him this, and then I'm like, it's fine, don't worry about it, But like, I think panels sometimes are fun too. If we had like a bigger panel, like 4 people, or when there's too much, it's too much. But
I think that we need to get together with Swamp. I know that we've discussed that.
Maybe I love that. Yeah.
Bootsy's amazing. I'd love to have Bootsy join me and you. And I'm sure there's others as well that are out there that could come out of the woodworks. But, I've actually been throwing it back and forth in the back of my head. I did extend an offer a long time ago. I mean, it was a while ago to JM Bree to do a live.
Oh, okay.
And, if people legitimately are interested in seeing some of that nature, I'd probably be open-minded to do it.
I'm sure that people would love to see you two talk. So hopefully because I don't think there's any, I might have been a little rough road between you guys in the beginning or something. I don't know what happened. Honestly, I don't even know. But I don't think there's any hard feelings at this point. So I think it would be awesome if you guys.
Yeah, I have no personal issues. I think it could be a potentially very interesting conversation if it ever did take place. But who knows? We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
I definitely look forward to working with you again, Post.
Absolutely.
I'll send you some of my writings that I've been promising you for a long time.
Yeah, that would be good.
But we'll work again together soon.
Sounds good. All right, I'm going to head out of here, guys. Thanks for coming, AR.
Have a great night. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye. I'm just going to put some music on here as we walk away. Thanks for coming, everybody. I really appreciate it. Put an oldie on.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I